Have you ever wondered why some people trust easily, while others fear getting too close or constantly worry about being abandoned? The answer may lie in something psychologists call attachment styles. These patterns begin early in life and can quietly shape the way we love, communicate, handle conflict, and build relationships. Some people push others away, some hold on too tightly, and others find a healthy balance. The most encouraging part? These patterns aren't permanent. So let's count down the major attachment styles and discover how they influence the way we connect with others. Number 10. Secure attachment. Secure attachment is considered the healthiest and most balanced attachment style. Researchers explain that people with secure attachment generally feel comfortable with both emotional closeness and personal independence. They trust others more easily, communicate openly, and usually believe that relationships can remain stable even during conflict. This attachment style often develops when caregivers are consistently responsive, supportive, and emotionally available during childhood, although later life experiences can also strengthen it. Securely attached individuals are more likely to express their needs honestly, respect boundaries, and recover from disagreements without assuming the relationship is over. They don't avoid intimacy, nor do they constantly fear abandonment. Instead, their nervous system has learned that connection is generally safe and reliable. While nobody responds perfectly in every situation, secure attachment provides a strong emotional foundation for healthy friendships, romantic relationships, and family connections throughout life. These individuals also tend to recover from emotional setbacks more quickly through resilience. Number 9. Anxious attachment. People with anxious attachment often crave deep emotional closeness, but simultaneously fear losing it. Researchers believe this pattern may develop when caregiving is inconsistent, sometimes warm and available, other times distant or unpredictable. As adults, individuals with anxious attachment may become highly sensitive to signs of rejection, criticism, or emotional distance. They may overthink text messages, worry when someone takes longer than usual to respond, or constantly seek reassurance that the relationship is still secure. Their nervous system remains highly alert for any signal that abandonment might be approaching. This doesn't mean they're too emotional. Instead, their brain has learned to monitor relationships carefully because consistency once felt uncertain. With self-awareness, healthy communication, and supportive relationships, many people gradually develop greater emotional security and confidence over time. Practicing self-soothing techniques can further reduce relationship anxiety and improve emotional stability daily. Number 8. Avoidant attachment. Unlike anxious attachment, avoidant attachment often values independence over emotional closeness. Researchers explain that this pattern may develop when emotional needs are regularly ignored, dismissed, or discouraged during childhood. Over time, the brain learns that depending on others may lead to disappointment, so emotional self-reliance becomes the safest strategy. Adults with avoidant attachment often appear highly independent and capable, yet they may struggle with vulnerability, emotional intimacy, or asking for help. They may withdraw during conflict, avoid discussing difficult emotions, or feel uncomfortable when relationships become deeply intimate. Importantly, avoidant individuals usually do experience emotions. They've simply learned to suppress or distance themselves from them. Healing involves gradually learning that healthy dependence and emotional openness can exist without sacrificing independence or personal identity. Developing trust slowly often becomes an important milestone during long-term emotional healing journeys. Number 7. Fearful avoidant attachment. Fearful avoidant attachment, sometimes called disorganized attachment, combines features of both anxious and avoidant attachment. Researchers describe it as wanting closeness while simultaneously fearing it. Someone with this attachment style may deeply desire intimacy, yet become overwhelmed when relationships become emotionally close. They may alternate between seeking reassurance and pushing people away, creating confusing relationship patterns for both themselves and others. Scientists believe this attachment style often develops after frightening, unpredictable, or highly inconsistent caregiving experiences, where the source of comfort also became the source of fear. As a result, the nervous system receives conflicting survival signals. Move closer for safety, but also move away to avoid harm. Recovery often requires building safe relationships, improving emotional regulation, and slowly teaching the brain that closeness no longer automatically predicts danger. Progress usually happens gradually through repeated experiences of consistency, trust, and emotional safety. Number 6. Disorganized attachment. Although often discussed alongside fearful avoidant attachment, disorganized attachment emphasizes the absence of a consistent strategy for handling emotional stress. Researchers observe that individuals may rapidly shift between clinging, withdrawing, freezing, people-pleasing, or becoming emotionally numb depending on the situation. Instead of following one predictable attachment pattern, their nervous system constantly changes strategies as it searches for safety. This inconsistency often reflects early environments where caregivers were both comforting and frightening, or where chronic unpredictability prevented stable emotional development. As adults, relationships may feel confusing because emotional reactions seem to change unexpectedly from one situation to another. Understanding that these responses developed as survival adaptations, not personality flaws, can reduce self-blame while encouraging healthier patterns through therapy, supportive relationships, and nervous system regulation. Increased self-awareness often becomes the first meaningful step toward building healthier attachment behaviors. Number 5. Earned secure attachment. One of the most hopeful discoveries in attachment research is that attachment styles are not permanent. Researchers use the term earned secure attachment to describe people who may have experienced difficult or inconsistent childhood relationships but gradually developed healthy attachment patterns later in life. This change often occurs through supportive friendships, healthy romantic relationships, therapy, self-reflection, or repeated experiences of emotional safety. Instead of automatically expecting rejection or disappointment, the brain slowly learns that trust, honesty, and stability are possible. Old fears may still appear occasionally, but they no longer control every interaction. Building earned security takes patience, because the nervous system must repeatedly experience safe relationships before it begins replacing old survival patterns. This demonstrates the brain's remarkable ability to adapt throughout life. Healing does not erase the past, but it allows people to create healthier relationships that are no longer completely shaped by earlier experiences. Over time, confidence gradually replaces fear as healthier emotional habits become deeply established. Number 4. Insecure attachment. Rather than describing one specific pattern, insecure attachment is an umbrella term, covering attachment styles that involve persistent difficulty with trust, emotional closeness, or relationship security. Researchers include anxious, avoidant, fearful avoidant, and disorganized attachment within this broader category. People with insecure attachment are not incapable of healthy relationships. Instead, their nervous systems often rely on protective strategies developed in response to earlier experiences. Some seek constant reassurance, others withdraw emotionally, while others alternate unpredictably between both behaviors. These responses are best understood as learned adaptations rather than personal weaknesses. Scientists emphasize that attachment exists on a spectrum rather than fitting perfectly into rigid categories. Through greater self-awareness, healthier communication, and emotionally supportive relationships, many individuals gradually become more secure over time. Understanding insecure attachment helps replace self-criticism with curiosity about how the brain learned to seek safety. Recognizing these patterns early allows healthier relationship choices and emotional growth to develop. Number 3. Attachment avoidance. Attachment avoidance refers specifically to the tendency to minimize emotional dependence on other people. While closely related to avoidant attachment, researchers often measure attachment avoidance separately because people can show different levels of avoidance regardless of their overall attachment style. Individuals high in attachment avoidance often value independence, privacy, and self-sufficiency. They may feel uncomfortable relying on others or allowing others to depend heavily on them. Emotional conversations may feel overwhelming, causing them to change the subject, withdraw, or focus on solving practical problems instead of discussing feelings. This behavior is usually driven by protection rather than a lack of caring. The nervous system has simply learned that emotional distance feels safer than vulnerability. With repeated experiences of trust and healthy communication, many people gradually become more comfortable expressing emotions without feeling that their independence is threatened. Small moments of vulnerability often become powerful building blocks for lasting emotional connection later. Number 2. Attachment anxiety. Attachment anxiety describes the tendency to remain highly sensitive to the possibility of rejection, abandonment, or emotional distance. Researchers explain that people high in attachment anxiety often pay extraordinary attention to subtle changes in tone of voice, facial expressions, response times, or relationship dynamics. Small misunderstandings may quickly become interpreted as signs that the relationship is ending. This constant monitoring can become emotionally exhausting because the brain remains on alert for possible threats to connection. Importantly, attachment anxiety reflects a protective survival strategy rather than excessive neediness or weakness. The nervous system is attempting to preserve important relationships by detecting problems as early as possible. Learning emotional regulation skills, challenging catastrophic assumptions, and experiencing consistently supportive relationships can gradually reduce this heightened sensitivity and strengthen feelings of security. Over time, reassurance begins coming from within instead of depending entirely on others. Number 1. Attachment is not your destiny. Perhaps the most important lesson in attachment science is that your current attachment style is not a life sentence. Researchers now understand that the brain remains capable of change throughout adulthood, thanks to neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself through new experiences. Healthy relationships, therapy, self-awareness, mindfulness, and consistent emotional safety can gradually reshape attachment patterns that once seemed permanent. Progress usually happens slowly rather than all at once. People often notice themselves becoming calmer during conflict, communicating more openly, setting healthier boundaries, or trusting others more than they could before. Attachment theory is not about placing people into permanent labels. Instead, it provides a framework for understanding how early experiences influence relationships while recognizing that growth remains possible at every stage of life. Your attachment style may explain certain patterns, but it does not define your future or determine the quality of the relationships you can build. With patience and consistent effort, lasting emotional security becomes an achievable lifelong process. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe to see more.